Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's that time of year. Samsung has released their new devices, and of course, I'm a little bit behind. I'm not on Samsung's press release list or anything like that. So I went out of pocket and I purchased Samsung S20. Same as I've done in previous years, I tend to focus more on whatever the smaller, cheaper devices are. So this is the S10 I've been using for about the last year. And so at this point, you might be asking yourself, what's different, what's new about the Galaxy S20 if you haven't already heard it about 57 times from all the other channels reviewing it. As you would probably expect from one generation to the next, most of the differences are going to be relatively minor. However, just looking at the box, you may be able to see one of the biggest differences right here on the front. It's got 5G compatibility, whereas last year you had to actually purchase a separate device specifically with 5G enabled, and that was significantly more expensive. Before we get too much farther in actually comparing these, let me just go ahead and open this and we'll see what's in the box and everything. There are, I think, 5 colors of this year's model available. Wow. That is very similar. On camera, it actually looks even more similar. This is the cloud blue color. I'm not sure that all the colors are available in the US. I think it's only 3 of them. But either way, here is the Galaxy S20 5G, the super fast charging brick, which is USB-C. There's all the inputs and outputs. It's supposed to be a 25-watt fast charger. Comes with a USB-C to USB-C cable and a pair of USB-C AKG earbuds. I've said it before and I'll say it again. These AKG earbuds, the ones that have come with previous generation Samsung phones, they are some of my favorite earbuds. Whenever I'm using wired earbuds, AKG ones are the ones I use. They fit very comfortably in my ears. They stay in for long periods of time. So now I've got a pair that has USB-C. That is really nice. And then back over to the phone, just experience that. And looking very closely, it looks like there is a pre-installed screen protector on here, but there's not a tab on it. So I'm not going to be in a huge hurry to go ahead and pull that off. Just leave it on there for right now. Just putting the two up side by side, you can see some of the most glaring differences are the camera bump. And the cameras have been significantly upgraded on this new model. Of course, you've got USB-C still on the bottom, but you lose that headphone jack. Whereas on the S10, you had the Bixby and volume buttons on one side, power on the other. On the S20, there's no buttons on this side. Then you've got volume and power on the other, so presumably we have lost the Bixby button. I am okay with that. Can't tell you how many times I've hit the Bixby button inadvertently. No one ever means to call up Bixby. Maybe you do. Maybe that's your preference. Just not a fan. And while we go over specs and stuff, I'm going to go ahead and power this on. Galaxy S20 5G, powered by Android, secured by Knox. So in terms of the other differences, the screen, it's a minor difference. It goes from 6.1 inches to 6.2, 1440 by 3040 on the old one versus 1440 by 3200 on the new one. Go ahead and agree and move on. Get on some Wi-Fi. That was interesting. I saw it said something about a randomized MAC. So apparently for your Mac, you can do randomized or you can do the phone's MAC address. Anyway, back to sort of specs and things. In addition to having a slightly upgraded screen, just in terms of the general specs, you also have a up to 120 hertz panel, although that 120 hertz can only be done at 1080p, whereas the old one was 60 hertz. This one again can go up to 120. This one's going to come with Android 10 out of the box, whereas this was Android 9 and it got upgraded to Android 10. Of course, you get the Snapdragon 865 versus the 855. I think some sites mentioned that this was supposed to have 12 gigs of RAM versus 8 in the old one, but the site that I'm looking at and just getting information from right now, it says that it's still 8 gigs of RAM, so I'm not sure about that one. Faster UFS 3.0 storage versus 2.1 on the old one. But again, some of the biggest differences lie on the back here. 12 megapixel main camera, which is f1.8, 64 megapixel telephoto camera at f2, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera at f2.2. And that 64 megapixel telephoto camera is capable of doing 8K 24 frames per second video. Oh, it's going to automatically connect to the old phone and move everything over. That's pretty nice. Allow connection. That's very simple. That's actually kind of similar to the way that Apple does it with their device transfer, if everything works. All right, still copying stuff over, had to put in passwords and everything. One of the other differences about this, you'll see the selfie camera is a little bit different. So the previous one's up here in this corner. The new one is significantly smaller, but it's in the center. Hopefully the fingerprint scanner on the new one is better, but so far I'm not being led to believe that it is. That was one of the biggest downsides, in my opinion, about the last one was the fingerprint sensor was just hard to use. So I would just use the pattern more often than not. Press a little harder. Don't press too hard, but kind of press hard, but who knows? Get a full scan, get the edges. There we go. It's finally finishing moving stuff over at this point. It's just going to be doing it in the background. But some of the other big differences between these two phones lie in the battery and the charging. As I mentioned earlier, the new one does support faster charging. The old one was 15 watts, the new one is 25 watts. USB power delivery 3.0. Has the same wireless charging and reverse charging and all that stuff that the S10 had, but you get a 4,000 milliamp hour battery in this versus 3,400 in the old one. Battery in it was never all that amazing, but it also wasn't terrible. I don't really push the device that hard, so I can't speak much to that. And of course, before I go too much further, I do have to get a case out for it. I kind of hate that, but one of the very early things that happened with the S10, when I first took it out, I didn't have a case on it. I dropped it, and I scuffed up one of the corners. Nothing cracked, nothing broke or anything like that, but one of the corners has some scuffs on it, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn down all the notifications. But this is the case I've been using on my S10. It's the ring key case. I think it's called the Fusion X, and I say that because I've already gone ahead and ordered this one, the Fusion X for Galaxy S20. It's actually exactly the same case I use on my iPhone, and I think this was like $3 on Amazon. They always do a coupon on it for whatever reason. I say for whatever reason. They do that because they want to get it into everybody's hands as quickly as possible and try to beat the rush, as it were. But it's got some very solid corners and bumpers around the edge of it, so I've definitely trusted this with all my devices lately. Nothing wrong with any other cases, whatever you prefer, but when I can get something that will protect my device pretty well for like $4, I'm all over that. It says it is all done, so we're going to sit done on this one. And the fingerprint reader did appear to work. Let's try it again. That worked okay. I'm not going to say it was amazing. We'll try it on the old one. Lots of no match. It's lower down in the screen. I've only got one fingerprint on each, so 1, 2. They're about the same in terms of the amount of time it took to come up. This one's a little higher up and maybe a little easier to reach. Let's go ahead and clad this guy in a case. It will never come out of a case again, at least until I decide to go ahead and put a SIM in it, which I'll do shortly. And you can probably see there are some apps that are still continuing to install during all this. And just for the sake of testing, this is the rear-facing camera on the new Galaxy S20. I'm only filming at 4K 30 frames per second because the video that I'm shooting right now is 4K 24, so I don't want to have like 60 frames per second video to bring in. And this is video from the front-facing camera. Again, 4K video from the Galaxy S20. It's 4K 30. There is a 4K 60 option, but I'm not using it at the moment. And because it is one of the options, you have to do it. This is 8K 24 frames per second rear-facing video from the Galaxy S20. I'm not going to move around a whole lot or do a whole lot, but this is just my bright studio lighting, sort of a best case scenario. It's rear facing, so it's very hard to do this. And it's also, it's the telephoto lens, so it's going to be a little bit, like I have to reach out kind of far to get just my head in the frame. So maybe if you put this on a selfie stick or something, this kind of video quality could be useful, but this is going to be a massive file. I'm going to move on. And that's probably where I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up for today. This is just the first impressions unboxing type thing. Feels very similar to the previous phones, just some minor upgrades and then possibly much bigger battery, slightly better camera. 64 megapixel telephoto should be interesting, so I'll be using that a little bit. Let me know what else you'd like to see about it moving forward. I can do more videos on this, but otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're looking to pick one of these up, Samsung does have a pretty good trade-in offer. I'm going to be trading in my Galaxy S10 for it, and they're giving me $600 back, so it was like $999 for the phone, but then $600 off makes it $399, and I think because I bought early enough, there's some sort of a credit, so I should have the Galaxy Buds Plus coming as well, that instead of $150, they were $50 because I got a credit. Anyway, again, let me know what you'd like to see about this. Let me know what you'd like to know. This is going to be in my pocket as my secondary phone. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel to get notified when new videos come out. See you again next time. Bye, guys.